Hello and welcome to the lecture on social stratification. In today's lecture, we will learn the concept and origin of social stratification. We shall also get an insight into the various determinants of social stratification. Also, we shall get acquainted with stratification systems and their characteristic features. And finally, we shall understand the concept of social mobility. First of all, let us understand social stratification in detail. Social stratification refers to the layering of society into distinct social classes, where the individuals of same social class share similar position in a hierarchy system in terms of economy, power, and prestige. A particular social class is ascribed to people at birth, or they earn it through their achievements. It is highly debatable whether early hunting and food gathering societies were stratified or not. However, likewise, our societies, the phenomenon of social stratification is a continuous process that has been kept on evolving over the times. Social stratification is universal but varies from context to context. Social stratification was conspicuous in ancient Greece, medieval England and in France before French Revolution. Contemporary rural India is an unambiguous embodiment of social stratification based on rigid caste system. The advent of Industrial Revolution brought drastic change in the structure of our societies, making them more complex in terms of stratification. Today's modern societies are stratified on the basis of socio-economic status of society's members or groups, and we are well acquainted with the terms like upper, middle or lower classes. C. Wright Mills discovered the surfacing of new class of power, elites which holds highest positions in political circles, military force and corporate world. Acephalous or egalitarian societies are rarely found in current times except some, for example, Aboriginal tribes of Australia. Emergence of stratified societies has been extensively studied by sociologists like Karl Marx, Davis and Moore, Max Weber, Talcott Parson, C. Wright Mills and others. Various sociologists attribute social stratification to functional necessity, while others find social conflict as the reason for stratified societies. Stratification of societies takes place in two ways. Either a person is placed in a certain category at birth or he achieves it through his accomplishments. Generally, closed class system assigns social positions to people at birth, and consequently scope for social mobility becomes rare. In an open class system where personal talent is valued more than family background, social mobility plays a significant role in elevating or degrading one's standard in a social ladder. Before proceeding further, let's discuss origin and definition of social stratification. Primitive food gathering and hunting societies were too simple, too minimal to be considered as stratified. Only two categories based on gender are tangible from the context, that is, physically strong men who were good at hunting and protecting the lesser stronger women who helped in gathering food and possessed childbearing capability. With the agrarian and pastoral societies coming into being and the gradual emergence of division of labor, stratification of societies became inevitable. Occupation was considered as the index of social position. People engaged in agriculture formed uppermost layer of the society in terms of wealth, as the agrarians and the pastoral farmers produced more than required yield, which they started accumulating and could be exchanged for other commodities. Consequently, agrarians had easy access to resources, thereby making them hold better of position in a society. Poets, artists and saints were most respected, and the people who had only their labor to offer in exchange were least resourceful and least respected. Evidently, the phenomenon of social stratification is ancient and was witnessed by every successive civilization. Ancient civilizations like India and Greece serve as perfect paradigm of social stratification. Early Indian societies were classified into varnas of 4 types. These were Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Brahmins were the religious scholars and were most respected and most obeyed people. Kshatriyas were warriors like kings, soldiers, etc. Vaishyas included skilled workers and farmers, while as Shudras put at the bottom of social system that had laborers, sweepers in it. Greece had 2 main classes of freemen and that of slaves. Freemen exercised immense control over the slaves. Medieval England was also stratified into royals, nobles and commoners. Modern England observes royal system till date. Industrial Revolution brought tremendous change in the overall shape and structure of our societies. Capitalism, which emanated from Industrial Revolution, gave rise to new social classes, broadly based on capital or material wealth. Concentration of wealth widened the gap between rich and poor. Earlier, workers were widely exploited by owners of production means. However, need of skilled educated workers in the factories led to awareness among them about their worth, and they stood for their rights, and over the times their working and living conditions improved and their rights got secured. This class is generally referred to as middle class. Social stratification is a concept that classifies people into groups on the basis of their socio-economic condition and assigns them a certain place in a social hierarchy. This system advocates superiority in terms of social rewards like wealth, education, prestige and power of some members over the others, hence leading to the uneven distribution of resources. It is not only socio-economic position that determines the stratification. However, the difference in the ideological and political perspectives also matter. Various sociologists put forth different definitions of social stratification. Ogborn and Nimkoff viewed it as the process by which individuals and groups are ranked in more or less enduring hierarchy of status. Gisbert defined it as the division of society into permanent group of categories linked with each other by the relationship of superiority and subordination. For Williams, social stratification refers to the ranking of individuals on a scale of superiority, inferiority, equality, according to some commonly accepted basis of evaluation. Many sociologists came up with various reasons responsible for social stratification and put forward distinct theories in this context. Karl Marx proposed the theory of social conflict. According to this theory, social conflict is a continuous conflict taking place in the societies or individuals to gain control over scarce resources, which gives rise to social stratification. Karl Marx associated the social stratification to the means of production and divided the societies into 2 categories. The first category being powerful, privileged and ruling bourgeoisie who owned the means of production, and the second category includes the exploited, unprivileged and oppressed working class, usually referred to as proletariats, who put their manual labor into the production means possessed by bourgeoisie. Advantaged bourgeoisie, besides exercising complete control over the proletariats, also frame false consciousness among them through various political and non-political institutions and through art and cultural tools. Karl Marx maintained that in stratified societies, resources are inaccessible to proletariats, and their upward social mobility becomes almost impracticable. He held the firm belief that internal conflict in capitalistic societies, where workers would seek their rights, is going to eventually lead to the emergence of egalitarian communist societies. However, in contrary, capitalism is thriving and making its entry into rigid communist regions of the world. Then we have structural functional theory. According to functional theorists Davis and Moore, stratification of societies is beneficial for their normal regulation. It is a stabilizing trait that ensures the organization and smooth functioning of societies. Only primitive societies are found to be non-stratified. If the element of stratification is taken out from modern societies, there would be complete chaos everywhere. They observed that as division of labor is necessary for sharing the workload, so is the recognition of that labor in terms of benefit. Their view may be justified by taking the example of a cardiosurgeon and a manual worker. A cardiosurgeon toils hard for an enough period of time to gain expertise in his work and then performs the complex surgeries to save the lives of people, while as manual work can be done by anyone where no expertise or training are prerequisites. Comparing their services would be ridiculous and paying them with equal rewards unfair. Davis and Moore also stated that the stratification is a key factor in taking out the best from the most talented people, as want of good reward is a motivational force behind the hard work. Now coming to the Weberian view. German sociologist Max Weber was profoundly influenced by Karl Marx. However, he denounced his theory of emergence of effective communism. Taking both functionalists and Marxists' view into account, he propounded the three-component theory of stratification, and Weber suggested presence of more class divisions than observed by Marx, who identified only two classes. Weber's study was based on Germany and he recognized four classes: upper class, the white-collar workers, the petite bourgeoisie, and the working class. Instead of Marx, who associated the social stratification with material wealth only, Weber added other dimensions like religious affiliation, prestige and power as determinants of social class of people. According to him, three key factors are responsible for stratification, that is, class, status and power. Number one, class. It indicates the economic condition of a member of a society, either ascribed to him or achieved by him. Number two, status. It refers to a degree of honor a society's member is receiving on the basis of his occupation or the talent he possesses. For example, poets, religious saints may not be as wealthy, however, they hold in high esteem by others. Number three, power. It measures the extent of thrusting one's will upon others. Despite having economically moderate position, people engaged in politics and military are powerful and exercise good control over large populations. I hope you have clearly understood the social stratification and theories describing determinants of social stratification. Now let us further move on to systems of stratification. All the societies of the world are stratified to more or a less extent. However, the determinants of social stratification vary with respect to time and space as discussed earlier. Depending on the factor determining stratification and the resultant social structure, sociologists have observed two systems of stratification, one being closed class system and the other is open class system. Closed class system was common in primitive traditional societies and is found in pre-industrial societies of the world. Or we may come across such system in rural India, as these societies are stratified on the basis of caste. The people are given a label of particular social class or level to which their parents belong at birth and have to carry this label throughout their lives. Thus, very little scope for social mobility is possible. The members of a particular class have to pursue their occupation taken up by their parents regardless of their choice and talent. They are supposed to socialize within their class. Usually, endogamy is promoted and conformists hailed. Medieval England had devised a law called primogeniture, which stated that all family property should either go to the firstborn son or to next close male relation in case there was no son, thus depriving women of property rights. Their status was determined by their marriages. This law made medieval England rigid, and shifting from one social class to another was impossible. Hence, medieval England observed closed class system of stratification. Open class system, usually observed by modern liberal societies, provides a tremendous scope for social mobility. The stratification of these societies takes place according to the socio-economic status of the people. This system is not caste-based and the social class is not ascribed to an individual at birth. Personal attributes and accomplishments are valued more than the ascribed ones. Depending on one's caliber, one is free to choose any occupation, which is unlikely in a closed class system. This system is characterized by free inter-class interaction and exogamy. Urban India serves a good example of open class system where talented people can elevate their social position to limitless heights. For example, Prime Minister Narendra Damodar Modi, through his diligence and dedication, steadily elevated his social standing from a humble chai wala to a possessor of highest position in country's highest office. USA and many European countries have open class system of stratification. Now we will discuss social mobility. Social mobility refers to the movement along the social ladder. The movement could be upward, that is from lower social class to higher social class, which can be put as a son of a sweeper becoming a doctor is an example of upward social mobility. Or the social mobility could be downward, which means movement from a higher to a lower class. For example, a businessman of high repute losing all its possessions in floods along with his house. All modern societies, being liberal, provide some opportunity for social mobility. These societies, however, vary in extent to which an individual or a group can move from one level to another. The magnitude of social mobility is subject to the stratification system a society observes. Thus, more open the class system of a society, greater will be the degree of social mobility. Thus, sociologists brand a particular society as open or closed on the basis of rate of social mobility. India has overall low rates of social mobility despite the fact that urban India provides enough chances for the same. Agriculture being the predominant occupation and rigid caste system act as major impediment in the extent of social mobility. In contrast, Western countries have escalated rates of social mobility and that too of an upward mobility. Social mobility could be either intergenerational or intragenerational. Intergenerational mobility means when elevation or downfall of social position takes place from one generation to another. For example, a son of clerk taking an occupation of some higher or lower rank. Intragenerational mobility refers to a rise or fall of social class that occurs within a generation. For example, a lower middle class employee fetching an income of 6,000 rupees per month suddenly becomes a billionaire by winning money on a reality show. This money brings about change in his social class as he and his relatives get access to good accommodation, nice education, good food, pompous attire and to many other countless things that determine one's social position. Before I take your leave, let us quickly recap what we have discussed today. We learned that social stratification refers to the layering of society into distinct social classes, where the individuals of same social class share similar position in a hierarchy system in terms of economy, power and prestige. Further, we discussed theories describing determinants of social stratification, systems of stratification. At last, we discussed social mobility. That's all for today. I hope you understood it well. Thank you.